But what you want is you want that uncomfortability to come, because that's where the growth is. We don't have growth staying small and comfortable. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome to this podcast, Little Girls Aren't Taught This. I am your host, Lydia McCartney, self-love coach, mentor to women, that feminist friend you all need for no bullshit self-love and female empowerment, and I am a trainee creative psychotherapist. My superpower is getting deep with women. It is being able to take them to the edge and help them transform their lives so they can just live with self-worth and self-love. In this podcast, we will discuss all the things, from self-love to spirituality to a few feminist issues and just everything else that we should have been taught as little girls that honestly would have empowered us in our adult years. This is unlike any other self-love podcast. This is the Little Girls Aren't Taught This podcast. So let's jump into this episode on investment. This episode is honestly one of those areas that people feel uncomfortable talking about, but they also feel uncomfortable because it requires them to talk about the money that they spent, which often is like a mirror and a reflection of their sense of self-worth. But also the other thing that's like a super sticky spot for people is it requires you to confront your relationship with money, which is uncomfortable anyway, because people hate talking about money, people hate talking about figures, people just get I don't know what it is in our culture, but we just all get super fucking uncomfortable talking about investment. But I feel like that stigma needs to be dropped, because there's nothing bad with investing, but I think you view it as uncomfortable, and maybe in a negative way, if you don't have that sense of self-worth and understand that you're worthy of making these investments in yourself. And the reason being is because it can seem a little bit selfish. You know, if you've got a mortgage and kids and bills and all of these other things that you have to pay in life, taxes, bills, food, car, and then you're saying on top of that, I actually want to pay out for myself. I actually want to invest money in myself. When you go to people with that, they're like, what the fuck is she on about? How can you do that? And then that's when the money story comes into play. And that's when the internal voice can come into play. And then that's when massively the fear comes into play. So one of the first things I want to ask you when you think about investment is, what is your first thought when you think about self-investment? Don't feel into it too much. Just instantly, what's the first connotations that come up? And then, do you see self-investment as selfish, or do you understand the opportunities and the expansion it brings? Feel into that. What's the first thing that comes up internally? And it's interesting what will come up in this moment. So my experience with self-investment has been a roller coaster, and honestly it started massively when I think there's certain things we can always justify investing. So if you ever think about if you've been to university, if you've done any kinds of courses, they're all self-investments, qualifications, they're all things we've invested in. However, they're seen as the approved things that we invest in, because you have a certificate at the end and you have a qualification at the end, and that's where people assume that the opportunities come from. So my first experience of actually fully investing in myself was this time last year, and it was the first time I'd ever fully made an investment where there was no this is what you're going to get in return. When I stepped into that container with that coach and made that investment, they were saying, this is what you'll get and that's what you get. However, it was the first time for me, I was like, oh shit, this requires me to step up. This requires me to make that exchange with money, and also me step into this as a person. And I absolutely shit myself, because it happened in lockdown, and I think I had about £600 in the bank. And a coach come to me at the time, she was a self-love coach, and she said to me, I have this container, and I'm looking for people who want to create a program or do something in lockdown that's going to have an impact. She told me the price of £500, and I immediately thought, yeah, well, there's no as if, and all the excuses come up, all the bullshit. I can't afford it. I've got no income. Like, that is ridiculous. Why would people pay that for 4 weeks? There's no way I can create something in 4 weeks. Like, I'm just not even going to get a result because I don't even know what it is that I want to do. And then I remember giving like all the excuses away. And then I sat on my bed and I was like, I have wanted to become a coach for so long. And I have been hoping that an opportunity would come along that would allow me to step into becoming a coach. And lockdown hits, and then this container becomes available. And that was my first experience of having that battle with my ego, of going like back and forth. And that was my first experience of the fear. And I talk about the fear a lot on Instagram, and I talk about it with every single client who comes onto any kind of call with me. I talk about that moment of fear when you are on the cliff edge, you are battling between where you are right now and that just making that investment and committing. And it literally is the scariest fucking thing ever. But I appreciate that fear, and now I love that fear when it comes to investing. But let me tell you, a year ago when I had like 600 and something pounds in the bank, I just lost my job as a PT because gyms closed. That fear felt so negative and so consuming, and it really, really stopped me from progressing forward. So it took me a little while to feel into the investment, and I was like, I'm just going to do it. Like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it on my credit card, and if it doesn't work out, like, it's my fault. So already instantly I was creating these stories of why it might not work out. I invested, and guess what I done? I created the divine transformation in that investment. Like, could you imagine if I did not make that commitment of £500? Like, I wouldn't have the program that I have now that's absolutely changing lives. So I seen the magic in creating and in investing, and I was like, shit, like, when you take a leap and when you expand, the universe will match your expansion and meet you. Like, when you truly say, yes, I am here, I am leveling up, I am stepping up, the universe sees you, and it's literally like the biggest flashing light to say, like, I'm ready. Like, I'm afraid, but I'm ready. And once you have that first experience of making an investment and reaping the rewards from it, that fear becomes less and less and less. The next investment I done after that was 6k. So I invested in a 6-month container. And I always tell this story because I think it's quite interesting. I invested in, and the same thing happened, the story came up. So the same coach again, Gina, she come to me and she was like, I'm doing a business mastermind, 6 months, 6k, you pay £1,000 a month. And at this point I probably had like £1,500 in my account. And I was like, oh my God, that's so much money. But that honestly felt like a stretch, like way too much. Like, when you've got X amount in your account and you see that figure and you think, I don't know how the numbers are adding up here. But I went to a reading, and when I went into the woman, she was like, whatever opportunity has come your way now, do it. And I was like, you've got to be joking me. I was like, that cannot be. Like, is that like, what even is that? Like, what are you saying to me? And then I remember I had a full moon, like, I went to the top, a celebration of life. So I went to the top of a mountain with one of my friends, and we were doing like a little celebration of life. So we were saying our gratitudes and meditating, and the sun was going down, and this mountain was like amazing, overlooked the sea. And I was like, I'm getting excited talking about it, but I was talking to my friend about that investment, and I was like, I really would love to do it, and this and that, and all the excuses were coming up, and the fear was there. And that woman who gave me the reading texted me, and she was like, I've just had guidance that says, yes, do it, don't hold back. And I was like, oh my God, like, I have to take that sign. Like, I have to commit to this container. So I made the first payment, sat there looking at the payment screen for a good 5 minutes, and then I put the details in, and then I close it, and then I put them in again, and I close it, and I was like, I just can't do it. And it was that moment of battling back and forth, which every single person who invests gets that moment, because it is fucking terrifying. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm all in. And if it doesn't work out, then it's my responsibility. Like, it's because I didn't level up and step up. And obviously that means like I don't want it enough. And I made that investment. 3 days later, my nan died. And I remember thinking, why did you have to die? Like, why did you have to go, Nan, when I've just invested into a container of 6k? Like, you know, you could have chose a better time. Because what happened is I had to take a step away from business. Obviously, I had to have the whole of June off and take a step away. But I remember one point where it was coming towards the next payment coming out. And I remember waking up one night and thinking the fucking anxiety was unreal. And I was like, what am I going to do? And then it's like this voice came to me and it was like, you either fucking do it or you don't do it. You make the money and you pay it or you don't. And it was that moment when I was like, yeah, like, that's so true. Like, I'm just going to go, I'm all in again. Like, I'm just going to do it. Like, and that container was amazing for me because it allowed me to grow in business, but it gave me like structure when I was obviously going through the things that I needed to go through. Recently, you've just seen my biggest investment to date, 15k. Like, I'm sorry, but sometimes I think, who the fuck am I to invest 15k? But I done it. And the thing is this container with Susie came and it was like everything and more that I needed, and I wanted to up level. And the thing is, when you desire something so strongly in your heart, the universe will bring you opportunities. So it's like, now if you're listening to this, you desire to be this woman, you journal, you meditate every day, you try and do your self-love work, and then you see my program is on sale. Like, that is the universe saying to you, like, if you see that and if you feel called to that, the universe is saying, this is your fucking opportunity. Like, if you want to truly step up, like, jump into that container and step up for yourself. And that's exactly what happened to me. So the payment that I had to secure was £3,500 was the deposit that I had to pay. And I remember looking at it thinking, 15k, like, it's for the year. But even thinking £3,500 deposit, like, am I taking the piss again? And every time I invest, it's another massive jump up. And every time I invest, I get that initial fear of like, oh my God, like, how serious are you? And I think this time round, it felt scary, but it was like my whole body was just like an absolute, like, fuck yes, like, sign me up. I am going to absorb everything in this program. Like, I have dreams, I have goals, I want to create a legacy business. Like, I'm here, like, I'm committed to the long run. I'm committed to investing in myself. Like, I've just invested £11,500 in a 2-year university degree that's going to get me a fucking qualification at the end of it. So why can I not invest 15k in, you know, working, like, stepping into this woman that I want to become and creating the business and the legacy that I want to leave? Like, and when I began to think about it like that, I was like, why is it in society that some investments are okay and some investments we feel very uncomfortable with? Like, what is that? And initially it comes down to, well, it's not initially, but essentially it comes down to the self-worth, like I was saying before. I'm thinking, sometimes we don't need a fucking qualification at the end of it. Like, actually, in our heart and in our souls, if we desire to be somebody or we want to change our life, we are entitled to do that. Like, whether that's investing 15k, 20k, 10k, 1,000, bloody £30 on an energy healing session, whatever it is, it's not just about making big investments. I want to make that clear. It's about making any level of investment that's going to allow you to grow and expand. But the thing I always say is, when you want to make the life-changing shifts is when that investment should feel a stretch. If it doesn't feel a stretch, then it's not going to force you to level up and step up. And that's the thing with investment. That is the beauty in it. And that is why when people feel that fear, I'm like, yes, hone in on that fear, like, feel it. It's scary as, like, it should be fucking scary when you think about investing, because what that's going to do is force you to shift your energy and be like, okay, am I here or am I not? Like, am I all in or am I not? How much do I want to change my life? And that is in that moment, the question that you are asking yourself. And I always say to women, like, you're on the cliff edge. We both are. I'm about to jump off and I'm saying, are you taking my hand? Are you coming or not? And it's up to you whether you trust enough to grab my hand and jump off the cliff edge with me, or you just want to stay looking down at everybody else thinking, I want to go, but I can't, whatever story's coming out. And the thing I've realised when investing is I've grown so fast in a year, not only personally, but mentally, physically, spiritually. As a businesswoman, I have grown in just amounts that I could not even imagine. And I think one of the biggest things for that is because not only when you invest are you leveling up for yourself, but you're putting yourself in an environment with people who want the same thing as you. Now, how fucking amazing is that going to be? Like, let's say, for example, if you invest in my program, you're coming into a container with a woman who has self-love, a woman who's investing 15k, a woman who is embodying this whole process, and then you're around other women who want this, who have that energy, who have that belief, who are like, yes, we can have self-love, yes, we are worthy of self-love. And essentially that's what you're stepping into, and that's what you're surrounded by. And what happens there is your beliefs begin to shift. And I said in the masterclass the other day, all it takes is one shift in a perspective for everything else to begin to shift. And it's like when you make that commitment and that investment and you're around other like-minded people, the perspective shifts, the beliefs shift, and then everything else begins to unravel with it. And it's just like magic unfolds without you even consciously being aware of what's going on. So it's about understanding you can empower yourself. And it comes back to what I say about choice, doesn't it? In the story, which links into the other podcast episode that I done. But it's like at any level of investment, you have a choice and you can choose to empower yourself. And it's just if you believe, are you worthy enough to make that investment? Like, are you worthy enough to put that money out? Because money is just a form of energy. Like, money is an exchange. So when you up level and when you give that that money over as a form of energy to the person who's providing the service and the transformation, essentially they are giving you back that transformation. So it ebbs and it ebb and flows, it comes and goes. And it's so important. And we get so fearful around investing because we're so fearful around spending money because we don't believe that money can come back to us. But of course it can. It's like every time I've invested, I've made that back tenfold. Like I've just invested 15k and I've made, by the end of this month, I would have made that back. So like, think about that. Like I've already made that money back because I'm just like, yes, the belief is there and I'm up leveling it. And obviously I've stepped into a container with like a business container, but it's like anything, even with self-love, it's like you get back tenfold the shifts that occur, like the first few weeks, the first month. So you energetically, you get that back in return, which has a whole impact on your whole life. You become a better person. You love yourself more. You know your worth. You impact your kids, your friends, your partner. You have mental space to think. You can think about your dreams, your passions, your goals. So it's like when you think about investing, you're just scratching the surface on the possibilities, because the possibilities are absolutely endless when it comes to making an investment, but it's just you have to shift your mindset. So that's why I asked the question I did in the first part of this podcast is like, do you see it as an expense or an investment? Because if you think about making an investment and you think, oh, it's just another fucking bill that comes out every month, it's just another direct debit, essentially what you're doing is you're lowering the frequency of your energy in association to that bill. So, you know, or that payment. So actually, instead of having a high vibrational energy attached to that, and actually an energy that feels in alignment with self-love, what you're doing is lowering that and making it like, oh, negative and making it like, oh my God, which entices that scarcity and fear around the investment. So you want to look at it as like an investment in yourself. So every single month, let's say you pay on a payment plan, every month you look at that as like, when you see that, you should be grateful and be like, oh, there's that investment coming out. It's like, oh, there's that money coming out that I'm, getting back in return of X, whatever you're getting it back with. And we've all been there where we've had to make investments. Well, I've just said I've been there when I've had to make an investment and put it on my credit card, and I thought, oh fuck. I've been there when I've had moments and I've reached out to Luke and I've been like, can you just cover this deposit for me? Like, please, can you just cover that for me? And then I guarantee I will make it back. And it's about knowing that there's options when it comes to investing, whatever that is for you. But you just need to have that aligned energy with the investment. And you have to check your story when it comes to investing. When it comes to paying out for yourself, is it something that you just think, oh, I'm not worthy? Because what I see time and time and time again on calls is women will feel into the pain point. They will tell me everything, how much they are struggling, how much they are suffering, how much they desire to change. They will tell me they are at the moment where it needs to change. And then they will see the price associated with getting that transformation. And all of a sudden it's like, well, I just don't know if right now is the right time. And that's when you notice the story coming up. So it's not that it's the right time. It's not often that you can't afford it, because you probably could find a way to afford it. And if it's a stretch, that's okay, because you now have that momentum behind you where you're like, fuck, I have to make that back. I have to pay off that credit card. I have to pay my mum back. I have to make that money back somehow. And I see the story come up, and the story is linked to the money. So one thing I would suggest you do is get really honest with what is your relationship with money. Like, if money was a person in your life, how would that relationship play out? And it's getting really fucking crystal clear on that and understanding that. And then I always say to women, like, do you want to, are you expanding, or are you staying small? And that's where it comes back to the choice that you have. And obviously, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, we don't all have the opportunity to invest X amount. Like I've said before, any level of investment for you is relevant. So it doesn't matter what it is. It's just if you're making an investment. But the investments that you're making, are they allowing you to expand? And when you're journaling every single day, or you're feeling into meditations and you're trying all of the things, and you keep noticing things are coming up and they're coming up, and you are just thinking, I would love to just accept my body. Like, I am so fed up of these cycles. But what you're doing is you're allowing yourself in a way to stay stuck in those cycles, because you're not doing anything to up level and change, and you're not adding that level of uncomfortability. So journaling, meditation, all of these things to start off with on your journey are absolutely amazing. But what you want is that uncomfortability to come, because that's where the growth is. We don't have growth staying small and comfortable. And these things that we do every day don't make us uncomfortable. They don't force us into the edge. And that's what it's about, essentially. It's about going to the edge. And that's what self-investment gives you. You need to create that space. You need to understand your story, and then you need to clear the story. And you have to sit with that uncomfortability. So any level of investment that you make, you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, and you have to tap into that fear, because that's where you're going to notice the contradictions and like the two sides of you coming up against each other. The side of you that so strongly desires to be a woman with self-love, or start a business, or I don't know, go into getting a qualification in Reiki healing, or whatever it is for you, or your yoga teacher training. And then there's that other side of you that is just like, you are not worthy, you cannot afford this is not going to work out, you should not invest this much, you have to seek validation from your partner, your mom, your brother, your dog, your neighbour, phone everybody in your phone book and ask them if this is the right decision, because you don't have that sense of worthiness to actually make the decision yourself. And I said this on Instagram yesterday, no one will ever understand that feeling in your heart. No one will ever fully understand the struggles that you have. Nobody will ever fully understand that desire when you have dreams that absolutely scare you. And you think, I know that there's a certain level of me that needs to give this a go. No one will understand how that feels. So it's about sitting with that uncomfortability and getting used to making decisions. Bring your support network in on that. But it's like when I invested 50, the one of the mistakes I used to make last year when I started investing was I would go to Luke and speak about it, and I would seek validation from him to allow me to make that decision. And if he said, no, you're stupid, you're ridiculous, I was like, yeah, that is stupid actually. Like, why would I invest that much money? This time round, when I invested the 15k, I was like, oh babe, this is what I'm doing. And he was like, are you for real? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm just going to go and pay the deposit. I was like, I'm stepping up. These are my goals. These are my dreams. And I'm fucking getting it. Like, I'm not joking around anymore. Like, I'm going in big and I'm giving it my all. And he was like, whoa, okay. And I think he's seen the shift from the investments that have came. And he was like, okay, like, if you want to do that. So this time round, I brought him in on the process, but I did not seek his validation, and that's very, very different to understand. When you also say yes to self-investment, you increase abundance. So like I said before, you actually scratch the surface when you think about the transformation that's going to come, because you create space. So it's like in the divine, I've had testimonials and women have said to me, I can't put it into words what I get from the divine, because it's a feeling. It's everything in my life shifts. It's waking up differently. It's my relationships with people. It's my dreams. It's my energy. It's, the joy in my life. It's how I process things. Everything, like this, you expand, and then the abundance expands as well, and you realize that anything is possible. Like, anything is possible in this life, and investing allows you to see that. Investing allows you to go to that edge, feel very fucking uncomfortable, and then be like, whoa, we're in for the ride. It's exciting, but okay, where do I need to shine a light? Where can I create space and abundance? Where can I call this in my life? Like, how are other people in my life going to benefit from this? And I think the 3 steps you need to get really, really clear when you're making an investment, or when you think about making any kind of self-investment, is the first step is understanding the conscious thoughts that are there when it comes to making an investment. Okay, so you could say, I understand the power in investing. It's absolutely amazing. And this will go into step 2 as well. You could say that, but do you actually believe that? Okay, so what are your conscious actions around investing? And it's very important to understand that. So so when you get really clear on your beliefs, you understand them better. So on the surface, what are you saying about investing? What do you think about investing? What do you think about business women? What do you think about money? What are you saying about money, about all of these things? Like, get really, really clear on that. Then what you need to get clear on is, what is the unconsciousness that's going on there? So what are the beliefs? What are the stories that are playing out? And do they align with what's coming up consciously for you? So an example is exactly what I get on the calls, where women are like, consciously, yeah, I'm so ready for this shift. I'm so committed. Like, I can't take anymore. And then we get to the payment, and that's where the unconscious beliefs come in of, it's too much money, I'm not worthy of this investment, like, actually, is this going to pay off? And essentially they mirror that and often reflect that. So who are you reflecting that out to? And I've been there and done this, and I've been like, no, I just don't think it will work out. And I've reflected my unconscious beliefs onto that person or onto the program. So if I've got to a point, or if you've got up to a point where you've read the description of the investment, you feel like everything the coach says or the person says or the program says, that, and it resonates with you, and then you get to the point where you're on the call and you're saying all of these things, there's the signals, like the flashing beacons to the fucking universe that this is in alignment with you. But then the money comes into play and it's like, okay, that's where we see it all unraveling. Actually, that's where we see it come out to play. So you need to get really clear. So I would suggest doing some meditations around that, creating the space. I would suggest, if you really want to invest, take some time to look at some things that you would be interested in investing in. Booking a call, getting on a call with whatever it is, or having a conversation, and then noticing the moment when the money is mentioned, what comes up for you. So what is there for you in that moment? What is coming up in that moment? And a very good coach will be able to notice that, or somebody who is, I say a program, like a qualification. However, I don't really think they would hold space for that type of thing. So probably that would be more that a coach does. But think about what comes up for you. Get really clear, because it's the unconsciousness that is creating the story, and you need to understand the story that is playing out when it comes to investing. And then you need to understand what are the similarities and what are the contradictions in terms of the consciousness. So where is the missing piece between those two? Because the unconsciousness will always have the power over the consciousness. Like, that will always be the belief that you've got deep rooted will always have the power, unless you're in that moment, like I do on the calls with people, and they just have that moment and they're like, yes, I'm here, I'm ready, sign me up. Like, I know the fear is there, but I see it, I see the vision, I see the possibilities. Okay. And then the other thing you need to pay attention to is your energy associated to investing. So energy is a game changer. And the reason why is because a lot of the time we're up in our heads when it comes to any kind of investment, okay, anything to do with money. We go into the head. We go into thinking about it, logically thinking about it, giving a lot of thought. Then we create space for the ego, the fear, the self-sabotage, the limiting beliefs. Actually, what you need to do is spend time dropping into your body. And you need to understand what your energy is when you're turning up, not when you're turning up, but when you're thinking about investment. You know, where does that sit in the body? Where does that feel? And I say this on calls with women when they have that, I can literally feel the uncomfortability. And then what they will often try and do is give me some like excuse. And I'm like, tell me what's fucking coming up, because I can feel it. Like, I can feel the shift in your energy straight away on this phone call. Like, what is it that's coming up? Tell me. And then that's where they say, oh, and they just open up to me about what's coming up. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. And they say to me, I feel uncomfortable, Lydia. I feel so afraid. And I'm like, good. I'll say that on the call to them. Good. Yeah, I want you to. If you don't, my program's not the program for you. What I'm offering is not what you need if you don't feel a level of uncomfortability when it comes to investing in yourself. So energetically, how are you showing up? Energetically, how are you thinking about investing? That's massive. Where do you feel it? Do you feel like in your stomach, in your chest? Do you feel like you get really hot when you think about investing? What is it that comes up for you energetically? And work on your energy. Work on your chakras aligning when it comes to investment. Work on yourself, your essence of self-love, that energy that's there, that requires you to get to a space where you feel comfortable making an investment. And it's when you begin to understand those three things, and you understand the story of investing, but then also the story of the money, and how those two link to your sense of self-worth, is honestly massively where the difference becomes, and you get excited with the process of investing. It's like every woman who comes into my divine, I want her to be excited. I want her to be scared, but I want her to be excited. And they all are. They're messaging me and they're on the call. Like, I am so excited for this process. And we have a moment where we're like little schoolgirls, just like smiling on the call, because we're like, yes, there's trust in you. There's trust in the program. There's trust in me. You know, there has to be that baseline of, this is gonna give you what you want. Like, you're stepping up. Like, how does that feel? Like, you're saying, yes, universe, like I am here. I am ready to get deep. I am ready to shift things. I am ready to be uncomfortable. And it feels amazing. Like I live for that moment now when I invest, and every single time I know I'm going to invest, I want to go bigger. Like my like Susie now, who the container I'm with, she's like £145,000 or something ridiculous for 6-month coaching. And I was driving yesterday thinking, I'm going to invest that much money. I'm going to pay her and I'm going to invest. Could you imagine how scary that would be, investing that much money? But it's like, now I know the ripple effect of investing. Now I know the momentum that comes with that. Now I know how much of a self-love boost that is. I'm like, yes, give me that feeling. Because I want that moment to come in where I'm like, am I worthy of it? And then it's like my higher self and my heart is like, yes, you are worthy of it, like 100%. Like, go for it and make it work. And it's just the most amazing process. And I wanted to do a podcast episode on this because I'm just like, I'm so tired of the bullshit of us being like, being fearful of talking around investment or money, or thinking that there shouldn't be that uncomfortability. Like, I want you to know that there should be that, like, because that is where the expansion comes, because the uncomfortability is the vulnerability, and it's the vulnerability that pushes you to your edge, and it's the vulnerability that makes you step up. Like, you don't step up and you don't change your life playing it safe. Look at every single person who is like killing it with their goals, their dreams, you know, being that person who is abundant and self-loving, and they all are making risks because it leads to excitement, and it's that excitement that gets you out of bed. It's that momentum that makes you appreciate every day and work hard every day and want to be better every day. If I give you the divine for £100, would you step up and get the same level of transformation? Absolutely fucking not. Like, you would not. So that's my podcast episode on investing. And I would just say, please, like I've said, don't listen to this and be like, oh, well, we have to all invest thousands, because you don't. You invest whatever is relevant to you in whatever you want. But think about that. Like, why do we give a green slip to degrees and qualifications and all of these things, but we don't give the same level of respect and I guess energy to investments that are on us, like investments that are going to change our lives and change the person that we are. So if you do want to invest after listening to this podcast and you feel like you want to invest in the divine, then the doors are open. They opened yesterday, and there's only 9 spaces left. So there was originally 16, and in 48 hours I've sold 7 spaces, which is just absolutely insane. So I'm so grateful. So if you feel like you are aligned, if you feel like you want to step up, because there is payment plans available, so I've made it affordable for people. If you want to come in and can radically shift your life, transform your life, become the woman that you want to be, in a container with other women and with me as your coach. Like, if you want to step into this space and make 2021 your year where you become everything that you dream and you desire of becoming, well, then this is your calling. So if you feel this in your heart, if you listen to this podcast episode and you're like, fuck yes, like, I'm so ready to invest, I will put the link in the show notes for you to be able to book a call with me. It's a little 15-minute call, totally free of charge, no obligation to sign up, and we just go through the divine. Or you can reach out to me, on Instagram, which is @selflovelydia. But I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope it shifted your perspective a little bit on self-investment, how that's a massive fuck yes for self-love and self-worth, and understanding that the fear is what creates abundance. So lean into that fear, go to that uncomfortability. And anytime you feel like, think, what would Lydia do? Lydia would invest, or Lydia would take the next step and step up and level up, because that is what separates the people playing big and having their dreams and being the people they want to be, and the people that are stuck in the cycles and, you know, just journaling and talking about these dreams. If it's calling you, do it. Okay? Okay, so that is everything today, my loves. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. The weather's not too good, but you know, we make the most of it as we can. And I shall, see you all next week for